hour 3, we're going to go over how we can add our currency formatting by using the accounting package. So I have my server running here. I'm going to leave it running. I don't want to stop it, but I need another command prompt. So I've opened an additional command prompt and gone into my lesson 4 folder. So that way I can leave my server running, but I can make other changes. Oh, thanks. I have my moments. There's my one for the month. So what should we do here? What's the first thing we want to do with this open command prompt? So we're going to install the accounting package from the NPM website. So it tells us it's installed into Node modules, created a new folder called accounting, and here it is. So we had connect previously that we installed in the first hour of class, and now we've got accounting installed. I don't really need this command prompt again. We can pretty much close this one off. So we've downloaded the package. That was step 1. What would be step 2? Okay, so where would I go to do that? Yep. So I'll create a variable called accounting. I can call the variable anything I like. And I use the require function, which was the first question on your little quiz. So we're going to link to the accounting module so we can format currencies. So our configuration is done. It's those 2 steps. Download the package with npm install and use require to link that package into any file that needs to use it.
Does that have to be like specifically at the top, or can it be just before you use?
Yeah, it can be anywhere. It's typical though that we link them at the top, and you'll see. Actually, I'll open a file just to show you. When we use the Express generator to build out our file, in our main file at the top, we're going to have like about 8 or 10 dependencies that Express installs automatically. I can show you what that file would look like, just so you'll see when we get into it. So it creates a file by default. It won't be called server.js. Express calls it app.js, but here's what it will look like. So all of these things, almost all this code is written by Express automatically, and you'll notice the first 6 lines are including dependencies. So you don't have to. Could we put it somewhere else in the file? Sure. That's typically where they're going to go, is right at the top. Because the challenge, if you sprinkle them throughout, when someone else looks at your code, it may be hard to know because they're going to have to read through the entire file to see all the dependencies. So it's a good idea to put them at the top, much like when we were doing .NET applications, how we had the using statement, any libraries we had, all those commands were at the top of the file. So Express does the same thing. It's a very good question.
So it's not like ASP.NET where it starts from the top and goes down? Is it like that?
No, it is like that.
So if you put the required at the bottom, it won't?
Yeah, that's right. That's a good question. That's a great question. So let me put my connect down at the bottom. And we'll see what happens. So when I save the change, I don't recommend you do this. I'm just showing you for illustration. Right away, it crashes. Right? I'm linking to the dependency here. It's telling me it crashed on line 11. Well, here's my line 11, right? I'm trying to create a new Connect app, but if I haven't linked that module until later, that line crashes. I can't do this. I have to link to the dependency first. So generally, it's a good idea to list all our dependencies at the top of the file. And I'm commenting every line for now. We're not going to do this. We don't need to comment what every single dependency is normally. I'm just doing that as we're getting started so that everybody kind of understands what each individual dependency is doing. Okay, so that's step 2. We've got accounting here. So now, what do we need to do to actually, these numbers are still, I can refresh, but the output hasn't been changed. So we've connected it up, but we're not using it.
Display the result.
Yep, so in display results, what will we need to do with our 3 variables so that they show up as currency?
Accounting dot format money.
So we'll use the accounting package, and in the documentation we can see a function called format money. Format money requires one parameter. Well, what's the numeric value you want us to display as currency? So this is how we call a specific function from an NPM package that we've included. The name of our variable that we've used to represent the package, which usually is the same as the actual name of the package, and then a dot, and then any function in there.
Couldn't you just do it on the last line to calculate total? Get a more accurate number?
Sorry, Vadim?
The last line, I believe it's line 44, variable total, parse float subtotal plus tax.
Yes, we could do it here as well. Either one. Actually, I don't want to do it here. That would format total, but we also need to format subtotal and tax. If I only do it here, it's only my total variable that will show in currency format. I want all 3 of them to show as currency format.
So we plug them in at each.
Yeah, so in each display line, rather than printing out the raw numeric value, we're going to use the accounting package to do our currency formatting for us.
That's not bad.
So now NPM's restarted my application. And if we go and check it, we should now get proper currency formatting on our values. I'll just go and refresh. So it lopped off all the extra decimal places and it gave us the $sign, which is what we wanted. So if you've installed and called, linked to the package and called this function correctly, you also should be getting currency format on your calculator page for your variables.
Mine says my page is not available.
So you probably have a syntax error in your code. Be careful on this last line. This is 2 round brackets. The first bracket closes this one for during the currency formatting, and the second one, and I tell you this because when I went over this example last night, I made that mistake. And the second one closes the response.write function. So you need those 2 closing brackets there.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
So we're using that package just to extend, just to use this one function, because there's one small piece of functionality we want to add that we don't have built into Node. So this is actually all the coding we're going to do today, but there is something else we need to do that will probably take different people varying amounts of time because it can be somewhat frustrating. What I want to do is look at deploying our Lesson 4 application to the cloud, which is something that we haven't done, but we're going to do moving forward, okay? The process of deploying to the cloud, once we get it set up, is really easy. Setting up that process in the first place can be challenging, okay? So I'm going to walk you through it. I sent the email out. Did anybody? I sent you an email the first week of January, the week before you came back to class, with instructions on how to set up, get a free account on Windows Azure through DreamSpark. Did anybody actually manage to do it successfully? A few of you did. Okay, I'm going to go through the process again. If you're already set up on Azure, great. Well, this is going to be really easy for you. So what we want to do to put this on Azure, we don't use FTP. What we're going to do is first push our Lesson 4 to GitHub, and then we're going to deploy directly from GitHub to Azure. Okay, and I will walk you through setting up your Azure account for those of you who didn't do it, which is most of you.
I tried multiple times.
It's complicated, so yes.
They never even responded back.
We'll go through it. We'll go through it. So the first thing we want to do is we need to create a Lesson 4 repository on GitHub and push our files up once your files are running. So we basically have this, it's a 5-page website, right? We got a tax calculator, we've got hello, we've got goodbye, we have loop, and we have nothing. We have a home page. So we want to push this little 5-page node site up and get it running online. So we have a few ways of doing it. We can do it through the command prompt if you want. I think I'm just going to use the desktop client, the GitHub desktop client. So I haven't initialized Git at all in my Lesson 4 folder. I had a Lesson 3 repository, but not a Lesson 4. So I'm going to open up my desktop client. I'm going to choose Create, and I'm going to call my repository COMP2106 Lesson 4. But in the path, I don't want it here. I'm going to browse to the Lesson 4 folder that we've been working in today. So for me, it's users R. Freeman node Lesson 4. So I'm going to try and create the repository here. If it doesn't work, I can just go and do a git init in that folder. Just want to make sure it did it where I wanted it to. No, it didn't, because it created it in here, which I don't want. So, oops, I'm just going to undo that. I'm going to delete that. So maybe I'll initialize git from the command prompt instead. Maybe. I thought I would have to run git init first. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to try it that way. I think when you say add, it's looking for an existing repository, but I'm going to try it. I'll click add. I'll try this again. So I'll go to my node and Lesson 4. Okay, would I like to create one? So yeah, see, that's the message you get if you haven't run git init. So I will. Okay, so now I can name it COMP2106 Lesson 4. And it's in my Lesson 4 path. Thank you, Kaylee. So I'll click create. Now we don't have to create it this way. You could create it online if you wanted. Okay. So now we have all these changes. So what do we need to do next? Yeah, so let's make an initial commit. So I clicked on changes. I put in, usually for our first commit, we'd put in a message of initial commit or first commit. And I'll click the commit to master to take a local snapshot. So this is all local right now. I'm not synced up to GitHub yet. All right, so it's created it locally. If I go back to GitHub, we won't see it yet. If I go in and look at my latest repositories, I don't yet have a version of this online. So now I'm going to click on publish. And if I click publish, go back here.
I have a.
So now it's published to GitHub. So here's COMP2106. And here's my initial commit.
My stuff, I linked it to lesson 4 folder, but it's not. I'll just be honest. Weird.
Now for good practice, I don't have to do this. Now that my file's on GitHub, I should probably create a README file. I'll just do it online and then I'll pull the README file back down. So I have that locally for my apps in sync. So I'm going to go to my repository. I'll click add a README. File. I'll just put in a description. So I'll just put in a description of what my application does, that we're using Connect, we're using accounting, we're using a loop and URL mapping, and we're going to try and deploy it to Azure. You don't have to copy my description. You can put in any kind of meaningful description. I'll leave the default name as readme.md because that's kind of the convention. So I'll make a new commit. I'll just leave the default, so we're creating a README file. And I'm going to commit it directly to the master branch. So I'll just click on commit new file. So now I have 3 commits online. I have my README. My local version, though, we don't have the README. So now we've made an online change. So you did this in Lab 1. What do I have to do to get a local copy of the change I made on GitHub? So if I hit sync, it will do a pull, and then it would push any changes I've made locally. I haven't made any new changes locally, so just clicking sync should do a pull request, and it should copy down to my local machine. So now I've got the README file here. So now when I go back to GitHub and click on my repo, the README, like GitHub's designed to automatically display the README file, which is good. So that's why if I name that file readme.md, as soon as I go to the repo, I get the documentation about what's in my website or how to use it. So I used sync through the client, so I have an identical copy now, my local copy and my online copy on GitHub. They're an exact match. They're perfectly in sync.
I added my synced both together, but it seems to not want to read the files that were in my folder, even though it's all connected. Like only have the Git tributes and the Git more. Blah, blah, blah.
I'll have to come and look at it in a minute, Scott. Okay, so we should have our solution online now. And now I'll go through the process of hopefully getting your DreamSpark account set up. If your account is already set up, then you don't have to do anything for this part, okay? What I would suggest is open up a private window or an incognito window if you're in Chrome. Okay, so open up a new private window. Log in to your, I assume everybody has, because I think I asked you to do it last semester. You should all have a Microsoft account, not a student account. So if you have a Hotmail address or you have a live.com address, you're going to need an account on Microsoft. So if you don't have one, you'll need to create one. Do this in a private window where you are not signed into your student email. If you already have a Microsoft account, you can just sign into it. If you go to live.com, you can sign in. Apparently I have a few emails from Azure I haven't read.
It's outlook.com.
Yeah, live.com or outlook.com, doesn't matter. They go to the same place. So sign in with your non-school Microsoft account. Basically, the way this works is you need a generic Microsoft account, and then you create a DreamSpark account. You create an Azure account with DreamSpark, and then we link the two accounts together. And then when you go into Azure, it should recognize that you have a student account, and we should be able to create applications and not have to put in a credit card. The process is not perfect, however. If it works perfectly for everybody in here, I'll be somewhat surprised, but we'll try.
I'm trying to remember.
What's the address for school emails? Is that like georgianc.com?
Hang on. Don't use your student, I just said.
Yeah,
Don't.
so you sign in, then you gotta link them to the verification.
Okay.
It's
So once you're signed into Microsoft, go to dreamspark.com, which will take you here. I know you already have DreamSpark accounts, but there's a link here in blue. Azure now hosts your web projects at no cost for students. So if you click on Get Azure Now, it will take you here. So if you click on Sign In or Create Your DreamSpark account, this is where it's probably on the next page. It will ask you for your student. Yeah, so put in your student email. Use the old version, because you guys have two formats now, right? I don't think they recognize the mygeorgian.ca, so use the old version, your student number at student.georgianc.on.ca. They know, they recognize that format. If you put in your email address in that format, this will valid.
It doesn't show me the form.
What do you see?
It directly said verified account. And it went down there.
Okay.
You just automatically verify.
Okay, you may get automatically verified. If you do that, then what I want you to do is in a separate private window, log into your student email. You can't be logged into both your Microsoft account and your student account in the same window, because they won't allow you to have two active logins on the same server in the same browser. So open another private window, unless you already have your student email open in a different tab or window. You got to have them open separately, and they have to be private. Otherwise, the session will get shared.
This is confusing.
It is, and I've emailed them. Scott and I have been communicating with them this week, because one of the other instructors tried doing this setup for the semester 2s last week in client-side scripting. He's trying to get them to use Azure, and I was in the class helping, and we had tons of problems. So I've been communicating with Microsoft. They know the process isn't great.
So where do we click to get the student? Sorry.
There should be either an option that says continue to verify, or there should just be a button. So Anthony, do you just see a button that says get verified? So that will send a verification email to your student email.
I've done this like 3 times. and
Yeah.
I don't get an email from them.
I think I do it like 5 times before actually.
I just sent an email to support.
Should there be like a spinning thing they got to wait through? Oh. No. Did you go for this page?
So try to get verified. What did you put? I don't think you want that.
No? Oh, let's just go back here. Okay, so we're going into here.
Click Get Azure now.
Register now.
You're already verified.
Oh, so I already did it. Oh, perfect.
You may see when you click Get Azure Now, on this page, if it's already verified you, this button will be disabled. And I think it says instead, the text says, Scott, what did it say on yours? Already verified.
Verified account.
Right, it says verified account if you've already done this. So if it says verified account, then you're probably set up already with
I didn't
DreamSpark and
remember setting it
Azure.
up.
Well, I sent you instructions in the first week of January before class. I sent you these instructions in an email, and I said it would be a good idea to do all of this before.
Did we do this last semester though?
No,
Azure?
but I sent you these instructions by email a month ago.
I never.
So some of you may have, if it says get verified, then yes, you probably did it and you just don't remember doing it.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Works out.
Wait, so if it says verified account, that's all.
So if it says verified account, then you can try the Azure portal and we'll see what happens. So you're still signed in with your regular Microsoft account, but it should be linked to your student account now. So the address to go to is portal.azure.com. Pretty simple. This is their web hosting control panel where we can create applications and databases, do deployments and things. So try going to portal.azure.com. It may ask you to sign in. It doesn't pass through your Microsoft login. So sign in with your generic, your non-student Microsoft account. Don't sign in with your student email. So sign in with your Microsoft account, not your Georgian credentials. And it's really goofy. You type in the email address. You may have to put in your password.
Where do we go to sign into the
Portal.azure.com.
portal?
Automatically sign
Okay.
our student email.
Right. Okay. This is the note I have from Microsoft. Hang on, because
These students,
just a minute.
I know.
Yeah. There can be a situation where Azure recognizes your student ID as being logged in and passes that to DreamSpark, which doesn't recognize and refuses to let you activate your Azure offer. Okay, so you're in here, but it has like your student credential at the top. Okay, let's try something first. Here's how we create a website, and we'll see in a second. Click on New over on the left. So these are all the different things we can create on Azure. Click Web and Mobile. This probably won't work for you, but I want to try it. Then click Web App.
This is sign up.
Yep.
Okay, try clicking Sign Up. I'm already signed up, so I don't get it. Try clicking Sign Up. There might be an option there that says DreamSpark.
It's taking a while to load.
Katie, you're nodding. Do you get that?
Yes. Add subscription.
Okay, so pick DreamSpark as your subscription
Well, it's
if you get it. Some of you probably will and some of you won't.
It's taking a long time to load up.
So once you're done, this is what we'll get. I could just name my website and click create, and then I have a website. So Katie, you got sign up, and when you clicked it, you had the option to pick DreamSpark. At the top, does it show your student login or your Microsoft login?
It shows my Microsoft one.
Okay. So you've got that. Who else can actually, so it shows your Microsoft, and can you pick DreamSpark?
That's the only option.
That's the only option.
I picked DreamSpark and now it's gone to, about you and it's mine.
Okay. Anybody else able to pick DreamSpark for their subscription? Okay, that's where we want to go. So if it's showing you that, and all of you that can do that at the top here, sorry, it shows your Microsoft login, right? It doesn't show your student login. Everybody else who's not putting their hand up, who isn't seeing it, is it showing your student login at the top?
This is Georgian College of Florida.
Right, okay, so this is the bug, which they've acknowledged is actually a bug. So I'm just kind of reading their instructions again.
This is a verification by phone.
You shouldn't need to do that.
Well, it's telling me
Should we
that.
sign out and then?
Hang on. They've said the workaround is to make sure you've got private browsing turned on, so when you log in, you're always logging in with your Microsoft account rather than your student account.
Mine didn't work
That's
with
a
me
lot.
either.
That's really great because I'm in my window and it just decided to log in through that.
I've got.
Yeah, that's what I was into.
Try another one.
This is
And then just
another
log
one.
in with your.
Yeah, try a different browser entirely. Don't just try a different window. If you're using Chrome, try Firefox or Internet Explorer, but make sure it's private.
I've,
So go to portal.azure.com and try logging in with your Microsoft account, not your student account.
I've got this page here, and it's saying that it'll only like send a message verification from my phone.
Yeah, I did that. It worked.
You can do that, it should work.
All right. Well, hey.
The whole trick is just to get yourself verified and that they can link your two accounts together.
Oh, it works if you go to a different browser.
Works in a different browser. Okay, so try that. Different browser entirely. I'm guessing what it does is maybe it's written a cookie, your student email has written a cookie, and the portal recognizes that cookie even in a private browser.
This is not gonna work if I'm not verified yet, right?
You can try the phone verification.
Select an offer.
Yeah, pick select and offer. Is DreamSpark pick select and offer? Is DreamSpark in the list?
No. Developer support standard support professional free trial pay as you go.
Okay. What is it at the top, Vadim? Does it have your student?
No.
Credential?
I'm gonna do it in Chrome.
So when it's working, you'll be logged in with your Microsoft credentials. And when you click web app instead of this screen, it will say, what does it say? Sign up. And when you click sign up, what we want is to be able to pick DreamSpark. If we have that option, then it's properly linked our Microsoft account and our student account. Carlin, what are you seeing? You're shaking your head at me.
Can be exclusive, be just as you go free trial, like I'm doing.
Okay, are you in a different browser that you don't usually use? Go into a different browser that you generally don't use for your student email. Don't worry, that we're not really doing anything else today other than trying to get this set up, so we've got time.
I figured out a workaround. If you go and delete your cookies, it works.
So if you delete your cookies, right, so if it's not letting you log in with your Microsoft account, if it keeps showing you your student credential, that's why it's using a cookie. So that's why by doing it in a completely different browser that you never use for your student email, you won't have a cookie set with your student identity.
Okay, so I signed up, but it says I still have to sign up.
So click sign up,
I did that already.
and then it should allow you to pick your subscription type.
Yeah, I did run through
And
that process.
did it have DreamSpark as
yeah,
one
I
of
went through
and,
that and sent
okay.
But now I have the same thing pop up again.
Oh, come and look at it.
I still don't.
Like I'm doing using my normal email account, I mean the Hotmail account.
Yeah.
So I'm clicking here and it says the forms like need verified stuff.
Okay, so do this and send yourself a text message. You don't need to put that in. Just put in it. A message so you can hear. Yes, you may get the DreamSpark sign up page. If you get the DreamSpark sign up page, it just wants to send you
Like I
a
haven't.
text message to verify. So you can do that. Allow them to text you.
It's like the fifth
I,
time that
well,
Just make sure that second checkbox is checked.
Yes, and at the bottom, there's a checkbox that says Microsoft may email me. Make sure you keep that one unchecked.
They also have phone spelling too, so
get message in the middle of the night for best two deals.
those guys are too good.
But
I did the
because that popped up.
You go through that.
I went through the whole process.
I think one of them a lot of screwed. It's like that man. Just shut them up.
So you already clicked this?
I have a Heroku account.
Dude, I just signed up.
Is it popped up again, right?
It's telling me to sign up even though I signed
That's
up.
what's happened to me. I'm having the same problem.
Okay, so let's sign up again.
At some point, but we already.
And it doesn't it's too
Of the best, but it still sucks.
It's a good news, bad news thing. It's complicated to set up. Once we get it set up, it works.
Like a dream.
There is Heroku.
But
You could use Heroku if you want.
I have a Heroku account. That wasn't as difficult to sign up.
have you got it set up?
That's fine.
Yeah.
The web app. There, it's working. The DreamSpark accounts are free for students, so they don't give you all of that.
For what?
Yeah, I'm just going for it. Okay. No, I'm gonna use Microsoft.
Just live, non-student login.
Yeah.
But when I go web app, no, there's no DreamSpark. Wait. This is my student one.
Yeah, you don't want to be
But they're different, one is in Chrome, one is in Firefox.
Okay, just a minute. I'm just going to go through the process of deploying this to Azure. I know not everyone's setup is there. For those of you who have it set up, I want to show you how to create a site and deploy it from GitHub, and then it's part of the video. Okay? So, to create a website, I click New. I picked Web and Mobile, Web App. I put in a name. It will be a subdomain of azurewebsites.net. So I'm going to call it, RF. Actually, I'll put it this way. COMP2106, Lesson 4, which it says is available. I'll click Create. It just takes a minute. So it's creating my site. Says my app is, here it is. Sorry, it's still working. It's deploying my web application, which just takes a minute. Yes, I know you guys look busy and have a place to go. Just hang on so you can see how we'll get it from GitHub.
It's always good to know this.
Pardon?
It's always good to know this.
It would be good to know this. Okay, so my deployment succeeded. So it takes me in. So here's my little hosting control panel. Here's my site. If I click on it, they kind of pre-build just a little homepage for me that they call, I think, hosting start. They just copy this file into the directory. So to deploy it, if I scroll down here and choose continuous deployment, if I choose a source, it asks where's the source code. So I can deploy from any of these. So I'm going to choose GitHub. Now, I've already logged in. You're not logged into GitHub, so it will prompt you for your GitHub username and password here. That will allow Azure to access your GitHub repository. So now it's saying choose the project. So I've already got my GitHub username in here. I choose the project. I click on my Git repo. Pick a branch. I only have one branch and say OK. Now notice that I'm setting up continuous deployment. This means every time I make a new commit to GitHub, it's automatically, Azure will constantly be monitoring GitHub. So just like GitHub monitors our file system for changes, our cloud service can monitor GitHub for changes. So as soon as I push a new commit to GitHub, it will automatically change. So it takes a minute. It's fetching my repo. It'll tell me when this is done. So we can also, this also shows us a deployment history. Every time we push a new commit to GitHub and that commit gets pulled to the cloud, we can actually see this history. Or we can do it manually if we want, or we can disconnect from the repo if we want. So it does take a minute to go through and fetch it. So it says it's active now. So now, hopefully, I should be able to run my site. It basically has to restart the application because it's been redeployed. So now we've mapped at the root that we should get our homepage message. I don't know if it's going to work or not. So we can set up our deployment credentials here with Git. We can use FTP. It's not really designed to work with FTP. You can back up your site. You can password protect it if you want. Okay. So hi, we're not quite done yet, as maybe you've noticed.
That sigh was rude.
It was rude.
So even go.
So I'm not exactly sure why my node process isn't quite running. It may just be super slow. Or there may be something in my configuration I still have to do. But anyway, my site is here. Maybe not fully complete. So that's our process. New website, give our site a name, and then connect it up to a GitHub repository. That's how we're going to get these online. I will debug. We can go over this again the beginning of class next week. Okay. So I've got no output, which isn't good. This will be a lot easier when we use Express, because Express will actually be building web templates for us. Okay.